The British Empire. You've definitely heard of it. At its height, it was just massive. We're talking about covering a quarter of the entire globe and ruling over nearly 1 in 4 people on the planet. So the big question is, how did it all start? And maybe even more surprisingly, why did it all end so quickly? Well, in the next few minutes, let's dive in and find out.
You know, it really does sound like the start of a riddle, doesn't it? How on earth did one pretty small island nation, with just a tiny fraction of the world's population, manage to build the single largest empire in all of human history? The answer, as you might guess, isn't some single simple thing. It's a huge story that unfolds over hundreds of years.
So, where does a story like this even begin? Well, probably not where you think. This wasn't some grand plan cooked up by kings and queens. Actually, it started with merchants, with traders, with adventurers. The British Empire wasn't really a planned project from day one. In a way, it was kind of like a startup, fueled by private ambition and that constant hunt for profit.
Now, the big idea driving all of this was something called mercantilism. The easiest way to think about it is like a national business plan. The goal was super simple: export way more than you import. And the secret sauce to making that happen? Colonies. They were the perfect source for cheap raw materials. Think timber, sugar, cotton, and they were also a guaranteed market where you could sell your more expensive finished goods. It created this powerful and often pretty ruthless economic loop.
And you can see this idea playing out in the very early years. It all kicked off with a trading company in 1600, then the first permanent settlements in America, but then 1776 happened. The loss of the American colonies was a huge, huge shock to the system. For a lot of people, it really looked like the whole imperial experiment was over. But it wasn't. It just turned out to be the end of Chapter 1.
Okay, so what do you do after a massive failure like that? Do you shrink back? Well, Britain didn't. It pivoted. It basically took this humiliating loss and used it as fuel for a completely new and honestly a much more aggressive era of expansion. Historians actually have a name for this. They call it the Second Empire, and it's exactly what it sounds like. Britain pretty much shifted its entire focus away from the Americas and turned its attention to, well, the rest of the world. We're talking Asia, the Pacific, and Africa. This pivot was about to completely redraw the map of the world. So, how did this happen so incredibly fast? Well, it was like a perfect storm of different factors all coming together. You had the Royal Navy, which completely dominated the seas, making global conquest and trade possible. At home, the Industrial Revolution was booming, and factories were just desperate for raw materials and new places to sell their goods. Add in some huge victories and wars against rivals like France, and you've got the recipe for explosive growth, all leading up to that infamous scramble for Africa.
All of this relentless expansion led to the absolute peak of imperial power. It's an era that gave us that famous saying, "The sun never set on the British Empire." And it was literally true. It was always daytime somewhere in its vast globe-spanning domain.
Just look at this number, 35.5 million square kilometers. To put that in perspective, at its peak, the empire covered nearly a quarter of all the land on Earth. That is just a staggering, mind-boggling scale.
And it wasn't just about land. The empire ruled over nearly 1 out of every 4 people alive at the time. This wasn't just a random collection of territories, it was a truly global system, on a scale that the world had never, ever seen before.
And its reach was everywhere. It operated in all sorts of different ways, too. You had these huge, largely self-governing dominions like Canada and Australia. You had India, the economic engine of the whole thing, often called the jewel in the crown. And then you had this critical network of strategic hubs, places like Singapore, Hong Kong, and Gibraltar, that basically controlled all the world's most important shipping lanes.
But of course, something that big, that widespread, it couldn't last forever. And the Great Unraveling, as it's sometimes called, happened a lot faster than almost anyone at the time could have predicted. The era of empire was drawing to a close.
Ironically, the beginning of the end came from victory. Britain was on the winning side of 2 world wars, but the cost was just catastrophic. The country was financially drained, completely exhausted, and it just didn't have the resources or, frankly, the political will to hold a global empire together anymore. And at the exact same time, this incredibly powerful idea was spreading like wildfire across the colonies: nationalism. People all over the world started demanding the very same freedoms and self-determination that Britain and its allies had just fought 2 world wars to defend. The ideals of the empire were, in a way, now being turned against it. And that unraveling happened fast.
The independence of India in 1947 was the first huge domino to fall. That set off a chain reaction, a whole wave of independence movements across Africa and the Caribbean, all through the 50s and 60s. The final, really symbolic moment came decades later, in 1997, with the handover of Hong Kong back to China.
So what came next? Well, the empire was replaced by the Commonwealth. The difference is night and day. The old system was a rigid hierarchy, a pyramid with London sitting right at the top. The new system? It's more like a voluntary club of independent nations, all cooperating as equals. It's a fundamental shift from a relationship of ruler and ruled to one of partnership.
And that brings us to today. Because even though the empire as a political thing is gone, its echoes are still all around us. It's left behind a legacy that is incredibly long-lasting and, let's be honest, deeply complex.
So what's the final verdict? Well, that's the thing. It's really complicated, and people still argue about it all the time. On one side of the ledger, you have things like the global spread of the English language or systems of common law. But on the other side, you have a legacy of artificial borders that still cause conflict today, of economic systems built on exploitation, and the disruption of entire societies and cultures. There really is no simple answer here.
There's a great quote from a historian that I think sums it up perfectly. No empire simply disappears. Its maps, its laws, and its languages remain imprinted on the world that follows. The formal structures might be gone, but that imprint, it's still with us, every single day.
So, we'll leave you with a question to think about. How does the shadow of that empire continue to shape the world you live in?